Hello friends, neighbors, Johnny Risk Neighbor here. Welcome to the Nook. Welcome to Sunday. It's kind of samples because they came in small sizes, but I want to talk some more Irish today. Again, more two stacks because I received those samples. They are in my market, which is up here in Alberta, Canada. And I thought, I should because I haven't yet tried the two stacks Dram in a can, but this is just their single malt. I have tried and talked their blend, and I'll do a quick comparison with that. And then I thought, well, I also have talked to you a while ago with the Busker, but it's available here in Alberta and really rather affordable. And I thought, okay, let's compare the Dram in a can single malt all the way to the Busker and see where it goes. So if you've got any Irish single malt or blend, why don't you pour Dram? Come on back. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. As I said in the opener, I haven't had this two-stack single malt. Recently I talked to you about the two-stack single grain, and I have talked to you about the cast strength version of this original one, but I've never tried the two stacks single malt. I really don't know how that's going to show on the camera or not. It's a small little can, and I know some of you have said it's a gimmick, and maybe, but so far my experience is the whiskey's really quite good. At least the other two stacks that I've had. I haven't had this. Now the single malt, if you look at the back of these cans, boy, I really don't know if that'll show on a camera, but I appreciate the insight. They show, what's in here, the malts, the percentage. This is 10% peated, 90% unpeated. It also talks about what percent is aged in ex-bourbon, what percent is aged in ex-oloroso. So we have just those two caskings. We've got some sherry and some bourbon influence, and we have 90% unpeated and 10% peated, but all malt because it is a single malt. Single means they're getting all their malt from one distillery, and of course malt means it's all barley. There's no grain in here. Well, let's get into the whiskey and see what Dram in a can or two stacks Dram in a can single malt has got. Wow, it is, it's rich and fruity. That's pretty close up front, but immediately that 10% peat for me is speaking. Now, it's not speaking like creosote, briny, seaweed, nothing like that, but it is speaking like that earth layer that comes in when you've got some peat kicking around. Well, actually, I would say there's just a slight bit of brine in that nose, so there's a fair amount of peat. At 10%, I wasn't expecting it. So richer fruits, a little darker fruits. Maybe the sherry's a bit more expressive. Yeah, there's some sweet vanilla in there, but it's got a little more rich, darker, thicker fruits, whatever that is for you. So that sherry influence, and then with that peat, it's got that body, that earth, a little bit of smolder. It's not like smoky, but something going on. And coming back, just rich. Got to give it a try. Sláinte. Immediately got some of the fruit I was expecting, but went pretty quickly into a little more earth and a little more campfire. The peat is I don't want to make that the conversation because it's not, but really I don't have a lot of peated Irish, and so it's standing out in the Irish I've been sampling over the past week. So now almost a roast chocolate note coming through. Yeah, typical malt in the sense of, for me, like everyone will have a sort of malt note that kind of hangs out for them, and for me that's that graham cracker crust that's going on. So I've got some of that. The fruiting is thicker, pithier. I think this is only a 43, but I believe that all their stuff is natural color and non-chill filtered. But I can confirm that and put it down below. Another quick sip. It hasn't given me a lot more layers. I have shared with you the malt. I have shared with you a little edge of chocolate or roast, but really a bitter cocoa. And then I've shared that the peat is present throughout the whole expression. For me, not smoky. For me, more earthy. A little bit of campfire, but ash, that kind of thing. Not too ashy, but like that ground peat, not It's not briny for me. It's not Band-Aid, that kind of stuff. It really, to me, is really that earthy note, giving it that layer. Very good. I need more time with it to actually get a bit more critical. This is just first up and first dram of the day, obviously. And so first thoughts are it's good, but definitely the peat is part of a conversation in this one. Okay, I'll be a little quicker with the comparison to their first release, also 43%. This Two Stracks, blended Irish. This has some single malt, some grain, and some pot still. It also has bourbon and sherry, but it also has virgin oak. As I was saying before, I should have checked if the camera catches it. They really give you all of that fine detail, which I think is really great as a whiskey person. Now, this particular blend also has 2% peat. So not 10, but 2, and it definitely has other things, pot still and grain, not just single malt. So this release from Two Stacks. So in comparison, this starts to, this single malt really feels like a sherried single malt, and the peat backed off a bit. This nose was more sweet. Yeah, I've got some layers of candy. I've got some layers of caramel, honey, or honey roasted almonds. And now I got a bit more peat coming back to this. So this is a interesting comparison. This is much sweeter and actually a bit more layered nose for me. This is lightly peated sherried single malt. On the palate, cheers. It's much brighter, lighter. That sweetness carries in too. Now we've got sweet pears. I said sweet honeyed almonds. Just in comparison, really the sugars are speaking, and the toffee and the sweetness and the fruit is much lighter. Very tasty. So this is, I don't want to say dark and brooding, but I would suggest this is a little more dark and brooding, and this is sweeter and lighter. There is a little bit of peat in there that I know I've caught my interest before. In comparison, it's so much less. It's not as much of the conversation. Just wanted to reference a different single malt, very affordable in my market, is this Busker. It's slightly stronger. I think it's 44 or 44.8 instead of 43. But it has similar casking to the first one in the sense that it's ex-bourbon and ex-sherry. Now, there is no peated malt in the Busker here, but it's wildly affordable, like about 44 bucks in Alberta for a whole bottle. So I thought, heading into St. Patrick's Day, it's always good to talk something that's within reach. The sweetness of this nose, it's funny, I was going to say the graininess, and I know it's a single malt, but is a little more aligned with this green Dram in a can that has all those different whiskeys and different casks. Maybe the fruits are a little more stewed, a little cooked pear, cooked apple. Yeah, a little more cooked down and not as bright as the green can. Let's give it a try. Sancha. There was a little bit of tang, a little bit of bitterness. Otherwise, I was going to say this is also good in the mouth. It's not as complex as either of these two. It's just not as layered. But it does have a little bit of a bitter tang to it that I wish I wouldn't have caught, because I'm glad I caught it, because that's the point of us talking, is to say, what are the layers? What are the things that I'm tasting? This is far more traditional Irish single malt than this one, and then some others I've had recently. It's light, it's bright, it's fruity, and it is cleaner in the palate. Finish is a bit lacking, I would say. Both of these two stacks have better finishes and more in the conversation. This blue one, though, is a little less typical Irish for me. Now, when I say that, it's because I haven't had enough Irish. I know that Irish whiskey is actually complex and diverse and rich, and is a huge number of small distilleries and none of that just big brand, big blend stuff that we might have grown up having and thinking of as Irish. But I just want to say this Blue Stacks is very, very good. But I think if you're a broader whiskey drinker, it would taste a little more like some other, peated sherried single malts that you've had, versus when you're thinking a little more traditional Irish, this Busker single malt is much more aligned with that, like brighter, lighter. But what do I like up here? I need more time with this single malt to get to know it. But I really like this original Dram in a can. There's something about the different things. Maybe it's the bit of the virgin oak, the sweetness of the grain, and the ex-bourbon is just speaking to me. I don't know. I continue to like this first out simple blend. It's pretty good stuff. This is good too, but I need a little more time with it to get a pretty good sense of how to recommend it. And in this moment and what I'm tasting, it also had more peat than I expected. Like it tasted more like 40% peat, not 10%. Again, just first thoughts and always just my palate. Hope you guys are doing well this Sunday. Hope you're getting ready for whatever fun activities you and your friends or you and your family do on St. Patrick's Day coming up this week. Take care.